It might feel like longer, and in some ways it is, but the T-Roc first came into our lives in 2017, and Volkswagen have sold quite a few of them. I'm in Cascais, just outside Lisbon in Portugal, to have a look at the new model. And today, as nice as this is, Volkswagen brought us on a factory tour to show us the car from scratch. And we were shown quite a bit, including the first bits where they press metal together, right up to the marriage point where car and chassis become one. And from then on, it's right into the production line where 24 hours after the car was first put together, it rolls off the production line. Now in Ireland, we're not getting the T-Roc R, which you're familiar with the Golf R, same power output, 330 brake horsepower. It's just too expensive with our taxes. But we are getting mild hybrid and full HEV versions of the car. They will come later. For now, it'll be MHEVs in a couple of powertrains, including the 1.5 TSI engine with 150 brake horsepower. And yes, we are getting this yellow colour. There's a lovely blue as well. Get it in a bright colour. There's enough greys and silvers and blacks in the car parks in Lidl and Aldi. Have a look around if you don't believe me. So what's the new T-Roc like in this video? We're going to find out.
Volkswagen Autoeuropa was founded in 1991 as a joint venture between Volkswagen Group and Ford. Things like the Sharon and the Galaxy were produced at the same plant for a while. Since 2017, every single Volkswagen T-Roc has been produced here, although many other VW brands have also been built here, including the EOS and the Scirocco. At full production, the plant can build 1,000 cars per day and contributes to almost 2% of Portugal's GDP. 99% of the cars produced here are exported, and very soon the upcoming ID.1 will also be produced here. While filming employees was strictly off limits, we did get some time to stop and look at some of the machines that press the initial steel together. We got a look at some of the robots that integrate with humans, and one particular memorable point was the marriage of the car, where the shell meets the chassis. Unfortunately, we also weren't allowed to film this part. The staff have their own canteen here, which produces around 5,000 meals per day, so it's one of the biggest restaurants in Portugal. A mere day after being born, your T-Roc ends up at this production line where it's literally driven off by a VW employee. And if you're in the market for one of these new cars in 2026, now you have a better idea of where your new T-Roc will come from.
Let's show you some of the key differences now on the front of the car. And actually, they're still making the old model for the next few weeks at the factory. So for every 5 old model T-Rocs, there's 1 coming off the production line. But it is quite a different face. So these very ID4 looking headlight units, you've got on the R line version, this high gloss black. How will that look after car washes? That is the question. A couple of nice grooves in the bonnet. It's also weird having seen these being just bare metal, not an hour or two ago, and now seeing them. You'll get an illuminated VW badge. This has been around in quite a few of the newer models since the Tiguan last year. And or is, well, I mean, on this car you'll see it, but on certain cars, darker colours, it's a very, very subtle or. And I think when you've paid the extra prices, you'll want everyone to know you spent the extra cash. On Irish prices, we have some exclusives here on the channel. I'll be able to give you all the details, so stay watching, because you'll find out first how much the new T-Roc is going to cost in Ireland. But in Germany, just to annoy you, it's from 30,000 euro. Yeah, I know. The new T-Roc is actually a little bit longer. They've squeezed it into the interior space, so it's just over 4.3 metres long and a little over 2.6 metres wheelbase. So essentially the inside parts of people's legs gets a little bit longer, which is good news because people often confuse these sort of mid-size SUVs as being so much bigger than the Golf. In reality, they're not. And this car handles quite well. We'll talk about the driving impressions in a few minutes, but something slightly more lower down like a Golf will always handle that extra bit better. And the boot and things like that, they have increased, but again, just don't think you're getting this much bigger car. Now this particular one is on slightly smaller alloys. You can get up to 20s on it. I do wonder how the handling will be affected by that. These wheels have more of an aero look about them. The black high gloss wheels that have that kind of R-line design, they might be something you're more interested in. We've got keyless entry, roof rails if you like to put a roof box on your car, and obviously the R-Line has the two-tone going on. The light model will be the more affordable version in Ireland, and there's also the smaller engine in that car too. So if you don't want to stretch to the sort of mid-40s for the R line, and I can see why you mightn't, at least there's that option as well. Now the rear of the car really reminds me of an ID4. And here's what I mean by that. You know, obviously the boot is slightly different, but for the light bar across, either the next ID4 will look like this, or it's just very heavily inspired. It's still nice, and as you can see, the light bar, until it just flicked off there, goes the entire way across the back of the car. Getting a wiper, much needed in countries like ours. Quite a big boot spoiler. You could ask yourself, could they have tucked this under here to make it look more streamlined, but maybe it wouldn't have reached the more important parts of the car. Anyway, look, we're seeing that in certain designs. It's not for VW, obviously. Lower down, you get another bit of contrast with more of the black and T-Roc lettering over the rear. So you would look at an old version and still know it's a T-Roc side by side, but there are some nice changes. And it's VW. They're never going to radically change from one model to the next, that's for sure. This never usually works on camera, but hey! So I've finally mastered the art of this, only 7-8 years after starting YouTube. Boot is a little bit up on the all model, about 30 litres extra, so 475 in here. It is quite shallow unless you drop this false floor, which you're probably going to want to do for the majority of your time, because there's quite a bit of extra space there. Now it does give you a huge lip if you're trying to lift things out and stuff like that. In fairness to VW, if the boot is, or the parcel part, or the floor, whatever you want to call it, is higher up, you can click it in to these things. So it holds it up when you're trying to get at items and objects that are further down. There's a couple of shopping hook holders. There's even a 12 volt back here. It's almost Skoda-like. It's so clever. And if you're someone who needs to drop the rear seats, you can do that from coming around here. There's a little latch, and when you fold them, there's not much of a lip here in terms of sliding things. Now I have items down here that are stopping that sliding down, but that should make life a bit easier. There's no clips for the seat belts, but on that first test there, they're not actually getting caught in the seat, because that's another annoying thing. You fold these back and then you've got to do it again because you can't get access to the seat belts. And on R-Line versions, it is an electrically opening boot, which makes life a bit easier. So if that's a big thing for you, you might want to consider stumping up the extra moolah. Our German friends have squeezed an extra 3 centimeters out of the rear space of the car. Now, it's still actually quite all right for my height, 175 centimeters. Passenger seat here is back for quite a tall man, and there's still space for everything. They don't have the device holders that we've seen in models such as the ID3 and 4 up here, but there's a map, whatever you want to call it these days, certainly not for a map anymore. Down here we have climate control with our own individual air vents, and there's 2 USB-C ports buried down below. And if you're only using this car, or you're a 4-person family, there's an armrest. No access to the rear though if you're someone who goes skiing in Ireland, which you don't. So overall, it's a bit dark. You could certainly say that about the car. Everything is black, hard back here. And there's also these new handles that VW have saved money on. So let me show you these. The idea is basically it's a one piece that's a grab handle, a door release. You have to switch for the windows, obviously. They've been able to use better materials. The accountants are happy, the designers are happy, but you pull this basically to exit the vehicle. So that bit is different. You'll also notice in this version, you get a Harman Kardon sound system. Now, when you sit behind the wheel of the new T-Roc, it's quite different from the old. You have this very modern dashboard that we've seen in things like the Tiguan and the Tayron. So this large stuck-on tablet style screen, but everything illuminates finally on it. And when we look at the wheel, we have buttons. So VW rolled back on the whole haptic thing. They're gone in this car. What you may not have seen before, especially if you're an old T-Roc owner, so the gear selector is now here. There's no manual available in the car. This all lives up here. The wipers and all the other details are on the left. The idea is it gives you more space here. And in some ways, yes, they have more space. In other ways, they've used a massive wireless charging pad here, 2 USBs at the top. What I do really like about it is this little nib that sticks out holds your phone into place. So obviously by today's standards, in a few years when the latest phones are the size of your head, maybe it won't work. But for now, that stops it sliding around. I've only very recently tested cars where that isn't there and it's moving up and down, and it's very, very annoying. These dividers we saw first in the ID3, I think. So they slot in and you can adjust them if you have a big bottle or a little bottle. Controller we saw again first on Tiguan. It can be a volume button shortcut. So you can also use this as a drive mode shortcut by just pressing it, and there's comfort, and you can tailor and customize it to your heart's content. There is an ISOFIX point in this front seat as well, so you can technically have 3 kids in a T-Roc. I'm not sure you'll fit all their stuff in the boot, but there you go. Tops of the dash, you have this mix of kind of fabric that looks like it's nice quality. It doesn't look like it will fray. The cousins at Audi are definitely using something similar, but in my test car at home this week, some of it is frayed in the new Q3. That could be a car you're actually weirdly considering, but obviously will not be around the same price. Another large screen that gives you all the information. Good use of kind of physical switches. You can get into this car, hit start and drive, no matter how long or how little you've been driving. It's just a very intuitive car to get behind the wheel of. If you're a regular viewer to the channel, you'll know I like to bang on about dynamic chassis control. Now, these R-Line cars have it. It's just so good. It means that you get this kind of best of so many worlds, whether it's rumble strips, whether it's just not great road surfaces. You can sharpen the chassis, you can make it more supple. It's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. But I guess that for a lot of people, it is an expensive need to have rather than must to have option. So I do understand that. 2 power outputs, but they're both from 1.5 petrol engines. So 116 brake horsepower or 150 brake horsepower. I've seen today on a journey of 100 kilometers, 6.2 liters per 100 kilometers. I'm sure you can get that into the 5s, but there's been lots of people driving this car. It's quiet, it's comfortable, it's unremarkable in some ways. Taking my car fandom out of this whole YouTube reviewing business, if you're a family who jumps into this car, it's got enough power, it's comfortable, it's spacious, the interior is nice, there's not too many things beeping at you to annoy you. There's a couple of, attention pits and the usual speed things, but they're easy to turn off. Yes, it's another VW and how it drives, but they made their name for being solid and dependable and not particularly someone who's sticking their neck out on the line to stand out from the crowd. Even the design of the engine 1.5, yeah, they tweaked it over the years, but it's been around a long time. So they're not messing with the soup. It's the soup as you know it, with a newer exterior, but it feels very, very familiar, and it's genuinely a pleasant thing to cruise around in. And if you're not in the market for an EV, you'll still get a lot of spec in this car for less or similar price to a similar segment car in an EV. And maybe you're just not ready to go for the whole EV thing yet, and this petrol engine, that sounds like at a 1.5 it should be thirsty, not too bad. I mean, there's definitely plug-in hybrid options in this segment that might be more of interest to you. It just really depends what you want from your car. For me, it's lighter than an EV. It's nicer in corners. It handles better, and it's just a comfortable, predictable little thing. Now, speaking of nice as this is, I don't know if Irish customers will go for R-Line T-Rocs. If you're PCPing it, you might get someone who'll tell you, well, the residuals are actually possibly better on an R-Line, so the monthly repayments aren't that much extra. I do see a lot of R-Line Golfs. I don't necessarily see as many R-Line T-Rocs. And I do wonder, will Irish customers pay the extra for this? You can get into one of these for less than 40 grand if you keep the trim level sensible. Now, you know how much I love you subscribers, so I've gone back to the hotel. I could have had a beer, but I said, no, I'll take a Life model and bring it out and get the Sunset and Qashqai. But also just to point out that if you want to get the more affordable version of the T-Roc, this is it. This is the Life version that starts from less than 40,000 euro. Now, one thing you can't get with this version is the 150 brake horsepower petrol engine. It's still a 1.5, but it's 116 brake horsepower. I drove here with 3 grown adults, including myself, and it didn't necessarily feel underpowered. So I know that's probably going to be a concern. How does it drive in comparison? It's not as powerful, but I wouldn't call it sluggish, shall we say. There are some key details that don't make it into this car, such as the nice ambient lighting on the tops of the doors. The seats aren't as nice, but it's £5 cheaper. And maybe you prefer the alloys that come with this car. They're not Orline, obviously, they're just standard alloys. And if you do damage them, they'll probably be cheaper to repair. But of course you won't, because you're a conscientious safe driver. And also, again, the lack of high gloss on the lower part of the bumper might be an actual appealing part of the car. You'll still get this very nice light bar, which at this time of the evening you can see the lovely illumination on the badge. Granted, the front is also not as exciting in the R-Line. There's no black high gloss, but again, some people don't want that. And the headlights are a little bit different. It's a little bit more sedate looking, that has to be said, but you could also say it's understated by comparison. There's going to be 3 different trims in Ireland, starting from €39,500. It is an increase on the last T-Roc, certainly when it launched in 2017, without a shadow of a doubt. When you look at things like the Toyota CHR, which similar style of car, that's also in and around that price. There won't be a plug-in hybrid of the T-Roc, it'll just be a HEV version that'll be coming next year. Yes, you could say it's predictable to drive. We've seen the 1.5 TSI engine for the longest time, but as we demonstrated today, it's efficient. If it's not broke, why try and fix it? And yes, it's a Volkswagen, so it's dependable and it drives like one. But I tell you what, and I said it a lot during the driving, DCC, I know you can't see it, I know you can't tell your mates in the pub, look at my wheels, but it is so good, and in my opinion, very worth it. So let me know what you think of this latest version of the Volkswagen T-Roc, and would it be on your shopping list at the prices we've just announced? Thanks for watching, see you next time.